Welcome to our Wednesday night reading of the Leadership for a Higher Age of Consciousness. This is your host, Christian Devadas, and today we'll read for about 30 minutes. As you all probably remember, we started with chapter 5 last week. The title of this chapter is Patience, Tolerance, and Empathy Keys to Effective Leadership. The section subheading is called Be a Conscious Creator. I'm grateful to be here with you all today, and hopefully this reading this what is read will give deeper insight, more clarity, also profound wisdom. I hope that for you, and that way you can take this into your life and be a change maker. Be a conscious creator. As well as the well-known aphorism states, you must be careful about what you pray for because you may get it. This is a simple phrasing of one of the laws of creation. Human beings are co-creators with God, reflecting the fact that they are made in the image of God. The thoughts they think and the words they speak today are constantly creating their tomorrows. As explained earlier, thoughts are things. They are composed of the same electrical spirit-based energy that pervades the rest of the universe. Thoughts have substance and power, and the more emotional energy people give them, the faster they become a manifested reality. The spoken word has the same force and creative energy. Therefore, those who learn to control their thoughts and words will control their future. Since humans are constantly creating, the only issue is whether they are being conscious creators or unconscious ones. The universe will supply whatever people ask for. Just as someone orders a meal in a restaurant, thoughts and words order various situations that are then delivered exactly according to that request. Although the results may not seem to be what was consciously wanted, the outcome do indeed conform to the original order. At some point, the person made a request consciously or subconsciously that created them. Even if an item does not always taste as anticipated, the person is responsible for the dish because of the original order. Since you are a co-creator with God, the more you are in tune with Him, the greater your power. So why think on a small scale? Think of plans that can assist the whole of humanity. Raise your level of consciousness. To understand that you are a co-creator is to be in a pure harmony with the universe, acting as a servant of and co-worker with the divine. If you fail to appreciate this reality, you become destructive and are responsible for causing even more chaos in society. The choice is yours, and so are the consequences. Remember who is ultimately in control. People who think in terms of being co workers with God but refuse to recognize His supremacy in all things assume the unfortunate position of trying to control everything themselves. Anyone who acts and thinks in this irresponsible way eventually becomes an instrument of chaos. It is difficult to be patient while idly waiting for something to happen. Patience comes more easily when one can channel energies into important projects. Some projects can be as valuable or even more so than whatever was being awaited in the first place. When people are actively involved in creating dynamic events around themselves, they are more able to balance their energies and to become less frantic and impatient. While giving your best at all times, as a leader, you should also remain detached and not overly preoccupied with the outcome of your actions. Spiritually conscious people know that ultimately they are not in charge. They can only give their best, realizing that the result will accrue according to what has been consciously or unconsciously ordered. On the other hand, leaders who consider themselves proprietors and controllers can be impatient and intolerant, viewing themselves as centers around which all things revolve for their personal pleasure. Others who envy God and want to be the, the Godhead themselves may work hard to acquire mystical abilities and other powers. Such people tend to be ruthless and will interfere with the health and welfare of others instead of helping them. Whenever you are tempted to succumb to a desire for power and control, reflect once again on the discussion about love in the first chapter. Remember that as your consciousness is directed by love, your impatience will recede and any difficulties you encounter will become more smoothly resolved. Laugh at those situations that cause you anxiety. Sometimes you only need to look objectively at yourself, especially at your mind, to become amused by the absurd dictate it produces. If you allow yourself to identify with such ridiculous thoughts, you will increase your anxiety and have greater difficulty serving others. The decline of patience and tolerance. In the future, the highly mechanized, impersonal structure of modern society is likely to engender even more impatience and intolerance than exists today. Automation is changing the lives of millions of people. For example, in the coming decade, companies will increasingly turn to robotics and other forms of automation. In the next 20 years, the great number of factory workers in industrialized countries may be replaced by robots. Not only do people risk becoming impersonal, insensitive, intolerant in such circumstances, but they are also endangering one of the most important aspects of a strong society, the important opportunity for its citizens to perform, the opportunity for a citizen to perform great, gratifying work. Although widespread automation produces a greater number of commodities in a shorter time, it does so at tremendous human cost. Leaders should weigh the long range consequences and support processes that enhance human well being by making decisions that are people oriented rather than just profitable. Another effect on modern technology is its ability to have widespread impact very quickly. For example, modern weapons can wipe out an entire city in a matter of minutes. A plane crash can end hundreds of lives in a flash. A small problem in the electrical grid can instantly cause power failures for millions. Computers linking businesses, banking systems, government agencies, and a host of other organizations can crash, causing instantaneous problems for those who depend on them. With such tools at everyone's disposal, the importance of patience and tolerance cannot be overestimated. Even eating habits seriously interfere with patience and tolerance towards others. The more people eat fast foods and fastness, senses quotated, fast foods, the general pace of life becomes more rapid. A vast number of foodstuffs are available to many within a few minutes. Excuse me. And rapid transportation brings delicacies halfway around the world in just a few hours. Such speed affects the psyche and causes people to act like children seeking instant gratification. The way people farm and treat animals also directly affects the general level of patience and tolerance. Many animals are now being raised just for slaughter, kept for under extremely artificial conditions. They are injected with different drugs to speed up their growth and to make them ready for our eager consumption. In many places around the world, farms are large enterprises geared towards massive production. However, this approach damages the planet's ecology and puts small farms out of business, eliminating the opportunity for many to live close to nature and make a meaningful contribution to society. Many small farmers who are in direct contact with the earth's rhythm in their daily work have learned the importance of adapting themselves to the natural order. They have more opportunities to practice patience than those who have lost touch with the natural world. Worst of all is the people who treat their own bodies. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Worst of all is people who the way people treat their own bodies. Numbers of people die every year for from hypertension and ulcers, aggravated by an atmosphere of impatience and intolerance. In addition, modern medicine can replace almost any limb or reconstruct almost any type of body that someone might want. Instead of accepting what they have and appreciating natural body changes, those who can afford it may seek to alter bodily features to suit an idealized image. In addition to plastic surgery, cosmetics are available to change appearances temporarily. All of these adjustments add to the general intolerance and impatience with the way things are. Developing patience and tolerance. One way to increase your patience and tolerance is to monitor this highly mechanized and cosmetic world carefully in order to offset its negative effect. As mentioned earlier, you can be in this world but not of it. Or, as the first epistle of John puts, love the world, neither the things, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of Father is not in him. This does not mean to, to be impractical. Rather, it means not to unnecessarily attach to this world, to be unnecessarily attached to this world of limitations and its transitory activities. Instead, while doing what is required in the world, you can make sure that you connect with the higher realms and their more divine activities and relationships. Everything has its natural rhythm. In some cases, people can interfere with the scheme and get rather good immediate results. However, negative reactions will occur at some point in the future. Much of the chaos in the world can be traced to the failure to look holistically at the long term effects of human actions. Unbridled material growth has caused many societies to become orgies of competing sovereign interests in which individuals seek their ends um, by any means available. As a result, the whole cosmic world or body suffers more every day from the poisonous diseases that sorry, that human race is spreading. throughout its system. So let me read that part again. As a result of as a result, the cosmic body suffers more every day from the poisonous diseases that the human race is spreading throughout its system. Consider the case of a pregnant woman. If all needs have been carefully met, in time she will be a mother of a healthy child. When this mother first learned of her pregnancy, she would have been foolish to say to her doctor, "Now I am pregnant, where's the baby?" The natural course of maturation is required before the child is ready to appear outside of the womb. In the same way, people who organize their role in creation and allow everything to unfold in this natural rhythm will enhance the quality of life for themselves and others. But if human beings continue to act in a unconscious and erratic manner, they will produce frivolous, superficial, or destructive results. By being more in harmony with nature instead of interfering and creating unnecessary confusion, people can improve themselves and benefit the world. Patience and tolerance are essential factors of true leadership because they are signs of strength and power. It is easy to produce useless or harmful results, but it takes a great strength to create beneficial outcomes in the right way at the right time. Pitfalls of leadership. Leadership has many pitfalls. One serious problem is the temptation for leaders to become autocratic or act solely on the basis of their own desires, aspirations, or perceptions. Instead, leaders can view their role as one of coordinating the activities of those for whom they are responsible. To do so properly requires the constant awareness of being a servant of others. Being a servant entails keeping abreast of people's problems, needs, and goals in order to be in a position to stimulate growth and to develop useful projects that enhance the quality of life. A second pitfall for leaders is the tendency to take the benefits of leadership for granted, forgetting that most people do not share in the blessings and privileges inherent in such a position. One way to counteract this complacent attitude is to visit from time to time various institutions for the less fortunate. For example, no matter what your level of leadership, you might make periodic visits to hospital, mental institutions, prison, or orphanages. Seeing such people suffering can greatly increase your desire to help others. Further, by helping the most unfortunate, you will be helping yourself as well because an organization, a society, or a nation is only as strong as its weakest link. In, international statistics concerning the mystery of the less fortunate are quite disturbing. Throughout the world, hunger and poverty are in fact uh, pe- um, pe- throughout the world, hunger and poverty are a fact of life. Half a billion adults and children are in a constant state of hunger, and another half billion, 20% of the world's population, are too poor to obtain an adequate diet for a productive life. Although hunger is a serious issue, the entire range of human needs is unfulfilled in the lives of many of the world's people. For example, millions of children die every year in the third world from common childhood diseases that inexpensive vaccinations could prevent. Basic education, safe drinking water, and even freedom from political persecution and torture are rights uh, that many of us take for granted. However, these blessings are only dreams to many people on this planet. The degree of human suffering, already staggering, is increasing every day. A third pitfall associated with leadership is the temptation to be bored, unenthusiastic, or even depressed at times. Those who feel this way can lose their perspective on the situation, forgetting the extent to which their lives are being guided, controlled, and assisted by the Lord, whether they know it or not. Although some may not accept the existence of God, it is a fact that higher forces do act upon every person's life. Leaders can overcome some of these negative feelings by reflecting on the many wonderful situations God has arranged around has God has arranged for them. In contrast to this experience of the average person, such thoughts can bring immediate relief or even exhilaration as these many blessings become apparent. One second, sorry. One second. The temptations to become autocratic, to take the benefits of leadership for granted, or to become bored or depressed are just a few of the hazards of leadership. There are many, there are, of course, many others. By maintaining a strong connection with divine guidance and by determined practice, leaders can refuse to give them power and eventually overcome them. Loneliness, reality or illusion? Another important issue for many leaders is the tendency to suffer from a sense of loneliness or isolation. Although feeling alone often puts people in a state of depression, for a leader, loneliness is an everyday reality. Far from being an unpleasant experience, solitude as a means of self care can often be rejuvenating and inspiring. If leaders do not take time away from their usual responsibilities and renew themselves, their service can suffer. Although they probably get more work done when constantly surrounded by others who assist them, without regular periods of introspection and silence, contemplation may not be able to maintain. They may not be able to maintain their pace. Spiritual life can offer an antidote to the feeling of loneliness that may be part of your experience as a leader. This is so because there's a presence of God in your heart that is always monitoring your activities. Such a presence can be the source of great solace, and it is increasingly available as you learn to control your passions. Then, if your psychic space is bombarded constantly, or if you feel agonizingly alone, your contact with the higher self, that aspect of God residing within you, allows you to be guided and protected by higher forces. Because all souls are emanating from one God, no one need feel lonely or separate. When you realize that all souls are the same and that only bodies and garments are different, you will feel refreshed, realizing that everyone is part of a great family sharing the same spiritual inheritance. Daily meditation on this awareness can help you become free from loneliness. How can you be lonely and depressed knowing that you are under the loving care of the divine supreme personality of Godhead who sends you individualized assistance? Okay. Moving beyond loneliness. Periods of great depression or difficulty are excellent times to cry out to the Supreme. Is it not a fact that people often learn most through their problems? If you're confused, sometimes it's best to do nothing at first. Instead of acting right away, listen to the source of guidance, feeding the problem to that presence of God within you, called the supersoul, the higher self. Then you can release the problem to divine authority, understanding that a difficult situation is the perfect classroom in which to learn your lesson. You, when you allow yourself to be guided in this way, you are in harmony with the universe, which ensures that every possible source of assistance will be made available to you. Of course, it is not easy to experience the Lord in the heart. Those who succeed want self realization very desperately. As much as drowning, as much as a drowning person who rises to the water surface desperately to gasp for air, the intensity of your desires will create a strong bond with your higher self, opening your communication lines and eradicating your confusion. When your determination becomes this strong, all kinds of channels will open to help you gain higher levels of awareness. When you feel, when you're feeling lonely and confused, review your previous achievements and activities. Did you make use of the help available from your higher levels? Or instead, did you try to do something alone? Although you may already have been successful in many of your previous undertakings, remember that a limitless supply of guidance is available from the universe, from God, to assist in future endeavors. This may help you feel enthusiastic and inspired by what has happened in the past and by what can happen even more successfully in the future. This technique is positive. This technique of positive thinking allows you to build on past achievements, thereby proceeding further than you would by becoming preoccupied with fears and doubts. Always remember that what you hold in your consciousness, um, what you hold in your consciousness manifests outwardly in your body and your affairs. If you think and act accordance with this spirit, you will recognize that you're not alone, that you are constantly being monitored and supported. I'll read this last part called Avoiding the Elite Elitist Mentality. I'll read this last part and then we'll wrap up. Let me see here. Oh goodness, kind of dark. Let me see. Hopefully it's okay. I don't know if that works or not. A leader's responsibility is to keep the interest of the people always as their number one priority. Therefore, in your leadership role, you should be careful not to give any instructions that you would not follow yourself, but put yourself in other person's position as a project plan, as you plan projects and give instructions. Be careful of elitism, which is the disease that can render your efforts irrelevant. If you are not careful, you may be tempted to consider your present subculture. Let's see here. Okay, sorry. If you are not careful, you may be tempted to consider your present subculture as the entire world. Unfortunately, this can cause you to give inappropriate guidance and instructions or to formulate useless plans that are not based on day to day realities of those you represent. On the other hand, when you consciously practice relating to the positions of others, you minimize the risk of becoming irrelevant, and your plans for those in your care will be more effective. To avoid the elitist syndrome, you can regularly mingle with those who experience financial hardship, and even more, perform a simple job as if it provided for your sustenance. Such work not only benefits your psyche, it also increases the love of those who you supervise because they are seeing your willingness to put yourself in a position of servitude. By, sorry, when you take such a job, yeah, well, when you take such a job, try to feel the daily yearnings and tremendous obstacles that most people experience. Then you can understand how little control many feel over their own lives. When you are the apparent controller, which as a leader you generally are, any any small decision may seem insignificant to you, but the people affected by that decision may experience extreme anxiety, especially if they perceive that their survival is being threatened. To develop empathy and appreciation, try meditating on the simple person in society who has little or nothing, yet still seems to get it. You might have also noticed that certain spiritual people with few material possessions seem to have a great wealth of inner happiness, peace, and love. In contrast, as you look at your surroundings, notice how many superfluous commodities you have become, sorry, how many superfluous commodities have become part of your daily environment. Indeed, any confusion, tension, hypertension, disappointment, or or disappointment you experience may result from having overly complicated your life. When people are attached to unhealthy temporary situations, such situations can become staggering and regressive factors in their lives. Everyone wants to be a free spirit, able to enjoy the finest that life has to offer, but the finest that life has to offer is not material. Instead, it is transcendental that makes the basic material pleasure seem bland and even painful. In contrast to the sublime sentiments, realization and sensation obtain. Sorry, let me read that again. In contrast to the sublime sentiments and realizations and sensations obtained from the higher uh, spiritual contact, I don't get that. Instead of yes, instead it is so transcendental that it makes the most basic material pleasure seem bland and even painful. In contrast to the sublime sentiments, realizations, and sensations obtained from higher spiritual contact, when we when you think about the many difficulties faced by those trying to eke out a living, pause for a moment to reflect upon the insignificance of your problems in comparison to what others around the world experience every day. All right, so I hope that this reading was very helpful, and I do apologize about my slip ups while reading. Next week we'll go into chapter 6, which is called Exercising Careful Scrutiny. All right, thank you. Hare Krishna.